everyone. Today we're going to discuss on metaverse, very popular things, and I think there are many technical issues, and I think this is the future. And we have our world famous speaker, Professor David Smith, and he's also CTO for ETT. So, Professor, how you want to share your experience about metaverse? What will be future?
To me, metaverse is fun, and with Facebook changing their name to Meta, it's just to highlight something. The metaverse actually began back in the mid 90s and has some very interesting followings there. If you go back to 1992, there was a novel called Snow Crash that Neil Stephenson wrote, and it was really predicting where the metaverse is headed as we know it today, and it's kind of fun. Then there was a Second Worlds, which was started in the mid 90s, and really has come forward with it. I actually still have an island on that, and when Meta came out, I went back and see if my login still worked, and it did. But that was an early experiment, which is still going on today, of creating a virtual world and how you can begin to use it. So if you begin to look at the term metaverse, it is a persistent virtual world that you find. There are some things where it says it's a next generation of the internet, which supports persistent online 3D virtual environments through different ways of computing, through VR, from AR, and trying to put those together. With a concept that began in the really mid 90s to where we are today. Some people think it's just a concept that is going to continue to evolve and begin to get there. But there's some places, like there's a platform called VR Chat that's already beginning to push where we see the potential of the metaverse going. And it's going to be different from just watching your computer. You'll be able to see entirely different environments in high definition, 3D, 360 degrees when you're wearing the goggles. You can interact with other attendant avatars. Your environment, you can wear haptic gloves and other things like that. So you're not just there, you're not just watching it, you become part of it, and how that begins to go. What is also very interesting to me as we decode the metaverse is going is there are things that we see in place today that are there in very different ways. One of the leading players as we begin to look at how the metaverse is going to evolve is NVIDIA. And they actually have their own version of it that is called Omniverse. And as opposed to where some of the other ones, like what you see with Meta, aka Facebook, doing, it's more in the entertainment gaming genre, where NVIDIA is heading is actually beginning to say, let's use the metaverse, the Omniverse, for work and create a work environment. And just as the physical environment is a collection of worlds that are connected in space, the metaverse environment is going to be a collection of worlds too. So you'll be able to go from one world to another, from one island to another, from one language to another language, and begin to see those differences in this metaverse as it is defined going forward. The places you begin to see it is, I love to go back to the movie Ready Player One and look at how that was. And one of the early instantations of the metaverse is going to be in massive multiplayer online role-playing games. And you're going to see those. You're seeing them like in Fortnite, in Minecraft. You're seeing a new one in an NFT-based game called Infinity. These are places where you're going to see it going back out. And you can begin to see some of where Facebook strategies coming into play. Back in 2014, they bought Oculus, which is one of the more advanced augmented reality goggle sets. And you haven't heard a lot of Oculus since Facebook bought them. And that is part of what I think they're beginning to queue up with what they're going to be bringing forward under the new Meta name. And easily going into the metaverse space by the use of the advanced firm of the Oculus goggles. If you go back and look at these 3D virtual environments, though, you can see them going in many different ways. Some of the very early virtual reality goggles. You see others in the commercial sector, like the immersion caves that you see at, for example, at oil companies and others, where they're trying to use this virtual environment, this 3D environment, to help find out where oil reservoirs are underground, where gas reservoirs are, and they're creating it. Also, the metaverse is going to really allow us to take our digital twins and begin to use them in multiple worlds. So, not just one version, but I was actually surprised when this morning I logged into Second Life and saw what the avatar I created a decade ago looked like. It didn't age like I aged, let me tell you. And you see those environments and you see them take different personalities. Now, what is really the downside of the metaverse? Companies are betting that we're going to spend the majority of our time sitting on a computer. And I believe that you're not going to see that. There's a real interesting article, and Sharif, I will pull that up and find it. And it's from one of the guys who is actually one of the virtual world pioneers, Stephen Tetlio. He was the metaverse architect on Second Life for over a decade. And he believes that part of the metaverse today is going to be really hard to achieve, because even though COVID really advanced the amount of time that we spend online and has made things like 3D video conferencing going forward, it's many of the elements of the metaverse going forward have been enhanced because of the restrictions around COVID. An accelerator. He actually believes that we've probably reached the tipping point on the amount of time we're going to spend online. And we're beginning to decrease the amount of time we're immersively online. So there's some distractors to it as well. So if I begin to look at the metaverse, it has everything that a traditional ecosystem does. Since Second Life is one of the oldest ecosystems in the virtual 3D world, it's kind of interesting because you can own islands. Companies had places for training. IBM was an early major player in Second Life with their vision of the metaverse. And they even did corporate training, customer training on different islands in the metaverse. There were banks, there were shopping centers on Second Life. But what was even funnier is a whole red light district sprung up in Second Life. So it had all the characteristics of what you have in real life, but brought to a 3D virtualized world where you can work, live, and do things. And that is kind of the vision of many people where they see the metaverse going in the next 10 years, 15 years.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Professor David Smith. Always you actually bring very interesting informations and for World Talent Economy Forum. I am sure our audience really like your contribution for World Talent Economy Forum. And every moment, even I also learned from you that how actually different technological world moving forward. Mr. Adam, how are you today, and how you want to share your experience about Metaverse? What do you think? Thank you, Diana, for joining today.
Thank you, Sharif. Sorry a bit late.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And hello, everyone. Sending greetings from Rwanda.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, from tomorrow we have special summit. So hopefully it will be very helpful. And we are discussing about Metaverse. So this is really, really important topics. And we have our Professor David Smith. We have our friend, Mr. Adam, and Diana from Rwanda. Mr. Adam, yes.
Thank you, Sharif. Well, I'm a bit skeptical with the Metaverse. I mean, I've been thinking for the past few days that we all need to try and make the most out of this universe first before we graduate to any kind of Metaverse, so-called. And I think, in my mind, social media, as it is now, before it's turned into any kind of more advanced Metaverse, the slightly less advanced generation of social media that we have now, that we use every day, every minute of every day, is causing a great deal of harm to people's minds. And so I'm worried that the Metaverse will just amplify that. And I think it's interesting that the public's trust in people like Zuckerberg and other people in the billionaire class is at an all-time low, but that doesn't seem to really kind of slow down the how widespread these technologies are going to be used. I mean, eventually there's some of the scandals that people like that have been involved in, usually replaced with the next issue, and then the next thing in the newspaper, and people will forget that and then throw themselves into the Metaverse. And even just audio-visual interfaces and modalities of sound and vision together are very stimulating and overstimulating. And then, of course, they're talking about eventually making it fully immersive, so it's not just sound and vision, there's also touch, haptics, like suits people wear that they feel different vibrations and textures and taste and olfactory as well. And so that kind of loops back round to well, we already live in a fully immersive universe anyway, so I think these developments will just risk people being cut off from their more natural selves. So yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you, Madam Diana from Rwanda. So first thing first, I want to know the present situation, especially internet and other condition in Rwanda. And beside that, what do you think? What is the impact of Metaverse in Africa? Madam Diana, can you hear me?
Muted.
You have to unmute.
Pardon. Thank you so much for this important time first and this important opportunity. Yes, first of all, internet had been a hot problem which was stuck. It has been stuck in many opportunities. However, many of African countries, head of state, starting in African Union, heads of African unions has been encouraged, urged many head of state to emphasize to focus on ICT infrastructure, which has been a solution to many countries. In our time, focusedly on our East African continent, East African region, many countries now, they have embraced ICT matters, particularly its infrastructure, even if we yet to embrace the quality ICT infrastructure, which must be a key forward to embrace our future goals, future plans in our daily life. However, it is still because of the mindset and also lack of materials.
Yes, Madam Diana, I think we have internet issues. We cannot hear you clearly. Sorry about that. We cannot hear you clearly. Professor David Smith, I want to say very beautiful sessions. Why? You are from North America, my friend Adam from Europe, I am from Asia, and my friend from Africa. What next? Like how Metaverse actually help us to connect more people around the world.
Well, I love you bringing that out. I mean, I guess I need to introduce you to some of my friends in Brazil, and we'll go ahead and get all the major continents on the program as well. To me, the metaverse is something interesting, though, because metaverses typically ignore the concept of time and the concept really of the challenges we have in working around the time zones. And if you compare where many of the massive player online games have, those are some of the early precursors to what you're going to see in the metaverse, because basically those are 2D versions of what's going to become a 3D immersive world in a metaverse. So we have the ability to do analogies and look at how it's gone. I mean, I can even go back to the analogies of the early days when I was introduced to computing, where my first time I played the game Star Trek was on a piece of paper printing on a teletype terminal. And the universe was zeros and X's. So we've come a long ways. But the concepts are very much still there. Most of the metaverses are taking a human-centric approach. And even though we're creating avatars, we're interacting with other avatars, we're interacting with them in the metaverse examples we've seen so far, much the way we are doing on this broadcast today, interacting with each other. We're going to, and again, where metaverses are going, it's like we've seen in Second Life. They're going to take the identity of things we do in real life, as well as things that we want to do in entertainment, where we're taking our egos, our other activities like that, and putting them into other personifications that we can be in. You know, I love the concept that we talk about fairly often on your broadcast of a digital twin. Metaverses are ideal for digital twins, but where I think we're going to be in metaverses is not digital twins, but we might have 6 chocolate twins, because I might have one digital twin where I'm a really good technologist. I might have another digital twin where I'm a very good warrior and can do that. I might have another digital twin where I am a ultra successful businessman. And I might have another digital twin where I'm a father. And be able to go in and out of these virtual worlds with the personifications that I want to do will allow us to, in many ways, try things that would make us more successful. NVIDIA's vision of their Omniverse, which is really, like I said earlier, more business centric, is kind of devoted around that. So part of their Omniverse might be working with one of your speakers who always has internet trouble. It might be interacting with them in the metaverse to troubleshoot their internet trouble in the virtual environment, and be able to set that up as digital twins and do the work that way. So again, a lot of applications of the metaverse. It does come with a high cost. They're very high resolution, takes a lot of bandwidth, takes a lot of computing power, takes a lot of graphics power, takes very high resolution monitors, high fidelity sound, high all the way around. Because if you want to get immersive, particularly if you're in a 360-degree metaverse with virtual reality. It's going to take a lot of computing resources and a lot of infrastructure to accomplish that. So good things, bad things, challenges to get there. But like Adam said, I'm not for sure it's for everyone. And just like the article with the architect for over a decade at Second Life, he believes it's a small subset of people who will become really the major users of the metaverse.
Thank you. Very interesting. Mr. Adam, I want to know especially, yes, Europe also invent many technology. So what do you think about Metaverse? Like how it will create impact, Metaverse create impact in European economy and European digitalization?
That's a good question, Sharif. Well, one of my main concerns is about a rather awkward subject. One of the main characteristics I hear praised and lauded a lot regarding Metaverse and smart networks is the impact it will have on people's romantic and sexual lives, cybersex, telesex, fully immersive virtual reality pornography that were implicated with the release of Oculus Rift a few years ago. And I think high-speed internet pornography is very harmful to a person's mental health, physical health as well, life quality, of which sexuality plays a crucial role in that. And so again, that is just with the current generation platforms. So Metaverse will be even more impactful in that regard. And I think that's one side effect of our modern digital lives that is overlooked. I think people disregard it as something that's what people do, that's what everybody does. And when you sit and think about it, and you think, well, if you imagine people from 20, 30, 40 years ago doing this, watching this stuff and you know, on a computer, it's very unnatural and quite unsettling. And to loop it back to your question, Sharif, internet pornography consumption is quite high in countries like the UK, USA, and places in Europe. So that's one thing I'm a little concerned about. But of course, there are always positives to consider. I think one of the main positives involves medicine, particularly telemedicine. Of course, medicine in UK, USA, Europe, in the West is quite good. So these systems will slash the time it takes for someone requiring urgent emergency medical attention. Ambulances might become things of the past, replaced in a few decades or years even by, for example, someone surrounded by smart devices in their home is in need of urgent medical attention. Systems like the Metaverse will notify a surgeon who might be miles away or in a different region, and at a virtual reality telemedicine interface, that's place of work. Connect that to some smart medical device like a robot in every home, and press go, and hopefully save more lives with that kind of technology.
Excellent. Professor David Smith, connectivity is productivity. So if we move like every people next 4 or 5 years move with this metaverse and this kind of digital relationship, what do you think? What will be the corporate culture? Like, do you believe we need office? We need like all of the like of organizational traditional setup, or it will also be changed through the metaverse?
Well, you know, that's a great question in light of COVID, particularly this new variation of COVID, where I see countries beginning to shut down again. Is that we saw how the first round of shutdowns have changed the corporate environment. It used to be, can I work part-time at home, to you have to work full-time at home, to gee, let's let some people come back. What I've noticed though is in the last several days, some of the companies that have said, we want you back to the office full-time, they've now relaxed that. And you're going to see that. So the real question behind what I think you are asking is not how do we use the metaverse as a tool for business, because yes, it's going to be used as a tool for business, particularly where you see it used for training, for applications like that. But the other place where I think will be a lot of development in the metaverse is how can I take it in a business environment and make it like the discussions that we have in the break room. So you might have a break room area in the metaverse for your company. You might have multiple training rooms in the metaverse for your company. You might have multiple conference rooms in the metaverse where your avatar actually goes in and sits around the table. And you have the discussion that way, where your avatar could go up by a projection screen in the conference room and actually present like I would in a in-person conference room. I love Adam's concept on that, because one of the things that's missing in the virtual offices today is the ability to flirt like you do in a real office, and to be able to kid each other and laugh and kid around. That's much harder to do over a Zoom conference. And so that's the place where the virtual environments might come into play. But the challenges you're going to have with that is the same as you have today. Spicework is one of the tools I use to manage some of my networks, and in their user forum today was a question that says, gee, my remote employees at home who are working, I think that they're in social media and online shopping 70% of the day and only working the other 30% of the day. How do I manage that? And that's going to become even more acute if I move into a metaverse type of commercial environment. So you have to look at the changing constructs of what constitutes a workday. I mean, I can tell you with all the work at home, I have no problems calling people up early in the morning or in the evening, because I know it's not as intense as if I was in the office for 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And so it will change, the metaverse could change the work days like that as well, particularly since we're now in this global environment where location is really wherever you find the right things to do what you need to do, the right skills, competencies, and capabilities. And that's going to make, the metaverse is going to make that easier to do that. But is the metaverse good for corporate culture? Boy, I don't think I would say that today. It will create a different corporate culture, and probably one where people are more free to move around with multiple companies, because it's going to be much easier to freelance in a metaverse than it is in a physical work environment.
Thank you. Mr. Adam, I have a specific question about education system. If metaverse actually take like expand around the world, what do you think our education process, even everything will be changed in the future? Especially I'm concerned about the developing worlds, how they can integrate it and get benefit for their education system.
I think with that question, I think it's a similar situation with work as well, like office work or corporate work, and I think a crucial aspect of so I was agreeing with a lot of what David was saying. I think a crucial aspect of people's lives is going out. Whether you're at school or if you're at work, you don't want to be stuck in pods all day. I remember when I worked when the lockdown was at its strongest, and I remember when I worked part-time at home and in an office the rest of the working week, and I really disliked it. I did not enjoy it. I much prefer commuting, even walking through a city, noticing the weather, working, going out for lunch and walk around the city for a bit and enjoy the weather and the architecture and so on. Maybe go somewhere after work to shop or listen to live music with a drink. I found working at home really depressing, even with family. Not that depressing, but I could feel the difference. So thank goodness I wasn't living all by myself, because as we all know, cabin fever and going stir crazy are real dangers of social isolation, especially if you're indoors. So this goes back to the issue of freedom. People seem to be not as fired up to defend their freedoms as our ancestors, but I could be mistaken there. But I don't want to live in a pod, and I'm not so sure I even want to live in a smart city, if I'm honest. But with the issue of education, it's a bit more complicated in my mind, because I had quite a bad time at school. I would have loved to have been able to learn all that I could learn at home, and of course, with what's happening with COVID and lockdowns and stuff, and some of the more kind of touchy political issues going on in the world, issues like homeschooling have been put back in the spotlight, and the advantages of homeschooling, and how parents can have more freedom and control over what goes in their children's brains, because I'm sure you've noticed a lot of what's being taught in schools nowadays is a lot of parents are not very happy about it. But of course, even though the issue of bullying is a very serious one at schools, some people do have quite a happy time at school, and that sets them up for quite a successful life. So it's complicated, like everything.
Excellent. Actually, World Talent Economy Forum, we that we have School of Talent Economy. We are also helping even this Rwanda. We are offering our solution because from our research, especially for the glass ceiling factors, women empowerment, this kind of solution we are providing, as well as this education is the key always. So I'm sure Professor David Smith and Mr. Adams and all of our other speakers, those who join from tomorrow, I think 36 speakers from around the world, from government, from corporation, from academy, they are joining in World Talent Economy Forum dialogue. And these are the things actually very, very helpful for developing nations. Especially they will learn what they have to do. They will understand how they can develop the policy. They can take initiative. Even they can develop different kind of projects. So that's why help from developed nations for developing world always important. And World Talent Economy Forum, we are taking this kind of visionary initiative. Yes, we know there are many challenges. Maybe they have internet challenges. Maybe they have different conceptual issues. But hopefully with the help of Professor David Smith, Mr. Adam, and all other 36 speakers, this session will be very, very successful. Professor David Smith, you are also a visionary leader, especially corporate leader, I want to say. And I saw that you have a consistency. One things I want to know, let's say when this metaverse and digital economy, everything growing. So what about the future of engineers, those who develop software, those who develop different kind of like technical things for metaverse or for social media? What do you think? What is the future, and especially what kind of opportunity the young community have? For
a lot of opportunities for the young community, and all types of engineering. I'm going to actually see if I can share one of my screens with you and see if it makes sense. Let me see if I can go to it now. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yes. This is in a virtual world that we use. This is one called Frost. And you can begin to see, I'm creating a virtual world here. And I can change my clothes, my skin, my personal information. I can put all different types of stuff on it. And as I begin to go, that is now my avatar that is going to live in this virtual world. And you can begin to see, as I said earlier, that it takes a lot of resources. But this is the virtual world that I can now go and live in, move in, interact in. I can walk in. I can do the different elements of it. So this is kind of the answer to your own environment. We've used this world to create a virtual classroom and stuff and can move in it. But this is the type of virtual world that are going to be created. And you can just see with this really quick example that they try to make them look like what we do today all the time. They try to be involved in there. I can tell you, I know the CEO of Frost really well, and he was just traveling, and with Facebook changing the meta, there's a lot more interest in his virtual worlds now than there was 6 months ago. And that's creating a lot of opportunity for designers, for graphics, for engineers, for physicists, for psychologists. All of those are involved as you create this virtual world. So it's going to become a very ripe playground, a data world for universities, for people studying it, developing materials for it. With the available tools out there today, I can create a virtual environment at almost very little cost. There's multiple frameworks in place I can use to go do it. I can go to Microsoft and create virtual voices, digitize mine and make it very different. I can go to Amazon Web Services and create avatars there really fast and easy. I can go many places and put together a very immersive world and not a lot of money because of the early stage of this. Now, the advanced ones do cost money, but because that there's a lot of opportunities to go forward, a lot of abilities to do things, and you can see from that short example I showed you, it's easy to get into the games and easy to go and do things with that.
Excellent, excellent, Professor David Smith. And we are happy to learn from you. We have thousands of students right now with World Talent Economy Forum. And any kind of things you want to apply, especially with the youth communities, I'm sure your contribution will be very, very helpful for the Corporation of Developing Nations and Academy for the Developing Nations.
Let me say one more thing about Metaverse, and I can slap myself for not doing this earlier. Metaverse is also going to be combined with robots. Mm-hmm. And you'll see robots working in both the physical space and in the metaverse space. And training for robots might happen more in the metaverse space so that they can be more productive in the physical space too. So you're going to see that type of integration too. So back to your questions with engineers and things, you can see it's really as diverse as you want it to be, as diverse as the real world is, because the metaverse is a online 3D version of the real world.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. Mr. Adam, I want to know that what type of strategy actually traditional organization can take and integrated with this metaverse, and what is the benefit they will get? What do you think?
Well, I was just thinking about what you're talking about with the engineering, and if a metaverse can kind of create a kind of mirror, create a work environment to the real world here, then I think it will be easier to find mistakes. Like I think, for example, one good example would be like NASA with the Challenger shuttle. I think if they had the kind of technology that we're talking about, the mistakes that set off the chain reaction and the explosion would have been found earlier. Although some people, of course, say they did. Some people did know about it, but they just, yeah, but that's another. But I think, and I also agree with what David said. I was just thinking earlier about this kind of technology combined with smart dust or nanobots. I think that could be the end game, really. And then as well as choosing avatars in a virtual world, in this world you can use. This is probably like another century away, but in this universe you could combine this technology with nanotechnology to be anything you want to be in this universe. And I think to answer your question, it'll be engineers, architects will have lots of fun with this kind of technology. But on the other hand, I think the most fertile creative environments do have limitations. Like, for example, you can make music with a few pieces of cheap equipment. You can make quite beautiful music and sounds if you know your instruments in and out. So I think one of the disadvantages could be too much choice, and too much choice can, especially for creative people, can create kind of analysis paralysis, and you don't know where to start. It's like a big expensive synthesizer with lots of knobs and switches. It's where do I begin? Like the example I used earlier, you can make quite beautiful music with pieces of cheap equipment, secondhand from an old secondhand shop. So I think that's could be one of the disadvantages. But yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. I have different question for you. Let's say any of the organization last 20 years, they actually running their business, their marketing, their finance, their all of the department actually they are running through traditional process. So now in this challenging moment, they need to adapt some technology. So what are the 3 technology you will suggest this traditional organization from Asia?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. It first of all would depend in what domain they're in. Are they in manufacturing? Are they in financial services? Are they in retail? All those different questions, because the answers are going to be slightly different. The first thing is that I would go ahead and begin to see what can you do virtually. So if you are not experimenting with your workforce with things like Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Skype, I would begin to experiment with that. Most organizations forget about security and privacy when they go virtual. That's been one of the biggest problems because of COVID, is people just said, let's just come up over the regular internet. What they really need to do is look at how to secure those connections. How do I use virtual private network? How do I set up actually a private network for us to work on things as though I'm in the company and handle the security and privacy that way? Security and privacy is going to be a big issue in the metaverse, but as your example, a company really needs to think about that. Third thing I would do is I would get used to the concept of interacting with customers virtually. So already today, if I'm flying on American Airlines in just a couple of hours, I can tell you I interact with their chat boxes all the time. I mean, I just went through a session with an American Airlines chat box because my seat upgraded on my flight back from Oklahoma City tomorrow to Austin. And went through with a chat box, not a human being, but a chat box of making those changes, going where I want, balancing it against my profile and the seats I like and stuff like that. And that's a great way to take the artificial intelligence and the avatar-like parts of the metaverse and begin to apply them today. I believe that in the next probably 24 to 48 months, you're going to see most customer support be done over the internet by avatars and chat boxes, as opposed to having a human there until you get to the more advanced needs of customer support, technical support. So those are three ways, Sharif, I think that companies in Malaysia can begin to get their feet wet with it to move towards the metaverse.
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Adam, I have another question for you. Let's say now actually many people mm, want to change their careers. Let's say those who are in business studies, or they are in the business level managers. Now they want to shift their career as a data analyst or as a in the IT industry. So, what is your advice? Like, what three area uh, you want to advise them that if they focus, they can shift or they can change their career?
Unmute.
Unmute, please.
How many episodes have I done with this and still doing that? Thank you. Yeah, as you probably know, I'm something of a mixture of both techno optimist and techno pessimist, and I think one of the techno optimist, one of the most exciting things I look forward to with the future and this technology that we're talking about is I think it will usher in a new age of like a new renaissance, if you like. So of course, in the Renaissance that we know a couple of centuries ago, we had people like Da Vinci and Michelangelo, Raphael, and all these polymaths like Athanasius Kircher, and I think the techno-optimist part of me thinks that if things go in the correct course, we will enter a new golden age of being polymathy, and this kind of technology could open up opportunities for not just, well, yeah, career changes, of course, but maybe something on a larger scale. So, and people will eventually start living longer as well. So hopefully, when people's lives are extended, combined with the technology here, people will use it wisely, use the time wisely, use their energy wisely, and to try and learn as much as they can about art or the arts or the sciences, and not just cerebral stuff, but practical knowledge as well. So I think that's one of the. I definitely think that this technology will hopefully, fingers crossed, help us into a new golden age of becoming Renaissance people, Renaissance men, Renaissance women. And I was just thinking earlier, when you look at some of the creative achievements people have created hundreds of years ago, Notre Dame, the Parthenon in Athens, some of the seven wonders of the world, pyramids, and the tools that they used. I hope that with this technology we can create more wondrous things that will be on planetary scales, planet-sized wonders, and we will. I think our next stage in evolution will be like becoming super Renaissance people, where the scale of human knowledge will expand, and people want to know everything about music, art, science, architecture, engineering, and synthesize all of that to create wonders that we can barely imagine. Thank you.
Thank you. This is really great discussions, and I'm sure our audience will learn a lot of things from our speakers. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. Before that, I request all of our audience, from tomorrow we have very special summit, and it will be in between the African nations and the World Talent Economy Forum, and many world famous speakers like Professor David Smith, Mr. Adams, and 36 different famous speakers from around the world. They will join in the sessions, and we will learn what's going on inside the Africa and what kind of solutions we can offer and how we can work together, the developing nations and developed world. So that is the objective of World Talent Economy Forum, and I believe how I getting support from all of our speakers, all of our audience. It will be really a great session and great summit for us. So thank you, Mr. Adam and Professor David Smith for joining today's session. Professor David Smith, what's your concluding remarks today?
Well, one of the things I'd like to say is, Sharif, you brought up the virtual world that I showed earlier today. I would encourage the people who are listening to this, particularly your government officials and university people, to actually log into that site and go and create a guest account and play with it. The best way to learn something about a virtual world is to go and dip your toes into it and play with it some. So the link that I did there was this fruss.com, fruss.com. And go ahead and create a demo account and play with it. That is the best way to understand what it's going to be like. Second of all, don't be afraid to begin to use parts of it and understand its limitations and where it's good. The ability in a virtual world to experiment, to do scenarios, to try things out in the digital twin concept, don't underestimate that. Metaverse is going to be great for education. It's going to be fantastic for education. Embrace part of that. I believe the metaverse is also going to be great for government. I'd much rather do a virtual town hall meeting that way, or a city council meeting, than having to go and sit in a room with 500 other people who are yelling at the people who are making the rules. I'd much rather do that in the metaverse. So a lot of opportunities there. You are very, very early in the metaverse evolution. Now is the time to get in if you want to make a business impact. There's some big players, but there's a lot of tools being put out there. NVIDIA, the Metaverse Foundation, all have frameworks you can use to begin to build metaverses on top of. Take advantage of and play. But my best suggestion is just go into something like the virtual world that I showed you earlier and experiment. And that way you'll come out ahead.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. I'm actually concerned about your health, so take care of your health, because you are extremely valuable for World Talent Economy Forum. So we do not want to miss you.
My son and I and others all have the same stuff. So yes, let's get this weather change over.
Okay, thank you.
Yesterday we had a 50-degree temperature swing here at my house.
Oh, okay.
And it will do it to you.
Okay, I understand.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor David Smith, for joining today's session. You are always valuable for us. Thank you. Mr. Adam, what's your concluding remarks?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, always gone. I just wanted to say, yeah, get better soon, David. Sorry for being late, and this was very interesting. It was just the three of us, so it's quite different. And I look forward to hearing more perspectives from Africa about how they use this technology, and like people from Rwanda. It might be a good idea to talk to people from TAFFD about this. They have some interesting things to say. So yeah, thank you for another interesting discussion, Sharif.
Thank you. This is really great discussion, and especially through this process, because the more we go for open dialogue, we can learn from each other. The more we go for different cultural interactions, we can learn from each other. Even Mr. Adam, you are part of our World Talent Economy Forum core team. So this is also very interesting things that hopefully through this process we can change the world, and that is the things after 1 year, 6 months of lot of hard work, lot of things. I find there are many positive things. There are many contributions we can contribute for the global arena, and that is the impact you can create and I can create for this global community, especially the audience, those who always support us. Please share our content with the government. Please share our content with your corporation and academy. I am sure with this kind of open dialogue, we can solve many problems. We are taking a lot of initiative, especially we are helping for policy development, as well as we are helping with this different kind of training and development. This is the way we can work together. So thank you, Mr. Adam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, our audience and everyone for joining today's session. Bye-bye and take care.
Cheers, Sharif.
Thank you. Bye-bye.